Welcome back to the Young Talkers podcast. We are back after a little break, but now for all of us, summer break has started, exams have ended, so now we can really focus in what has been huge news in terms of international affairs, starting off with the summit between two world powers in Russia and the United States, right after the G7 summit, where Biden focused on admonishing the autocratic powers in Russia and China. So that set the scene for a really tense summit between Biden and Putin.
Yeah, I think the summit also a lot of the countries were saying China was being very dominant during the summit, and that's something that they weren't liking. But that's how the summit was going apparently. And but this news isn't really confirmed. But that's what a lot of the sources have said, that China was very dominant in the conversations happening inside the summit. So to know more, we'll just have to wait to see what the kind of actions they will take now.
Yeah, I think in the personal meeting between Putin and Biden, they held press conferences later individually, where Biden sort of touched upon on China aggressively trying to, boom their economy, trying to build a stronger military. I'm not saying they're trying to join forces towards a common enemy, but this meeting is it's a positive sign for both countries, Russia and America, as some of the things that were discussed were the cyber attacks that Russia has done on USA's systems for like how long. They interfered in 2016 elections. That's very well known today, but they keep on interfering in USA's systems and databases. And USA said that the president of USA gave Putin like a docket that had like 16 sort of repercussions, or 16 things that Russia should avoid hacking into, or attacking in a cyber manner. So that's what was mainly discussed in the meet between Russia and USA's heads of state.
Yeah, as Gulal said, a major focus was cybersecurity, where a dark web group, which has ties to the Russian government, breached multiple government agencies and caused gas prices to rise massively, especially in southeastern states in the United States. And Putin once again vehemently denied any connection to the recent hack, but once again, gave him a staunch warning that if these attacks continue, as they've been continuing for the past couple of years, the U.S. will respond with full force. And the U.S. is really trying to become a major player in the world stage once again. The Trump administration took a more isolationist approach, kind of allowing China to build up relationships with other countries. And rather than earlier for the past 20 years, the United States being like, the player in the United Nations, the player in the world stage, the leader of the globe, it became China. And that's concerning for people because of their lack of democratic process and human rights abuses.
Yeah, also another talking point was Alexei Navalny, who's one of Putin's biggest rivals in Russia, or the biggest rivals he's seen in over a decade. And he's in prison currently. And USA is warning Russia that if he dies in prison, which is very likely, dies of accidental causes, uh, then there will be some serious action repercussions to that. So, and on the other hand, Russia says he's in prison because he broke the law. So it's a weird back and forth. Despite them meeting, they haven't really found any common ground on any topic. Biden accuses them of cyber attacks. Putin denies all cyber attacks. Biden accuses them of forcefully arresting Alexei Navalny. Putin says he broke the law. I mean, it's back and forth, but it's a lot better than what the relationships were in 2016. Because we all know the Trump administration sort of caved whenever Putin visited, or whenever anything to Russia, anything related to Russia was in the news. They would just pretend like they're very good allies, even though Russia was, some would say, uh, using USA.
Yeah, I think it's a lot because a lot of them they because politically when you're in public, like usually denying things is what both Russia and US do whenever there's accusations, because they never, and getting exposed is I think a big thing. So like how Russia got exposed in 2016 for the interference in the elections. So I think since then, they've gone. They haven't been as aggressive as they normally would be, and attacking in like cyber attacks and things like that.
Yeah, I think now we should move on to our next topic. Some more international news. A new Israeli coalition took place where one of Netanyahu's allies, Naftali Bennett, joined their opposition and made a coalition to dethrone Benjamin Netanyahu as the prime minister of Israel after a 12-year rule. And a lot of people have been talking about, is Naftali Bennett the lesser evil? Is he worse than Netanyahu for Palestine and for a lot of enemies of Israel? And I think we have the answer here. And yeah, he is quite worse than Benjamin Netanyahu. It's not a big difference between the two, but Naftali Bennett has bragged about killing Palestinians in his army days. He has a very strong admiration for using violent tactics. He's also, recently, if you guys also didn't follow the Israel-Palestine conflict, because we were also not, posting as much. The ceasefire was broken by Israel after about 25 days, I believe, on the 16th of June when they issued strikes at Gaza again, which they claim killed Hamas militants, but no one knows for sure at all. I mean, these are all claims. But again, they did break the ceasefire, and part of the reason why they say is because Palestine, somewhere from Palestine, a couple of balloons were sent, yellow balloons, I believe. I don't know what they said, but they sort of provoked Israeli military to do the strike. So okay, you're seeing the power dynamic here. Palestine sent in some balloons across the border, and Israel responded with strikes. This is absolutely crazy. And now that Naftali Bennett is prime minister, it's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse because he has a much more stronger position. But there is one catch: he did join the opposition, and the opposition is a lot more different than Benjamin Netanyahu's party and his point of view. So that is one thing to look out for. Maybe he has to adjust to the party or to the coalition that he's now in.
And like, right, maybe his first ever action as prime minister, or maybe it was Netanyahu, I'm not exactly sure, but was the retaliatory strikes, which was Hamas first fired incendiary balloons, which, if you don't know, are balloons that contain Molotov cocktails. So essentially, they fired those strikes, and we do not know the extent of the effect of those strikes. And this is a very tight coalition. One thing fails, and Netanyahu will be waiting in the shadows, reclaiming his government, because it's a 60 to 59 parliamentary advantage. And if this coalition does hold, Bennett will hold power for 2 years, and then he'll be replaced by centrist leader and more, easier on Palestine leader Yair Lapid. He's more left wing, he's more centrist, and him and a Arab independent party, which is quite shocking considering Bennett is extremely anti-Arab and anti-Palestine. Those two were needed to form this coalition. So a lot of people point to Bennett's right-wing history, anti-Palestine history. But if he does anything to offend even one person, even one party in his coalition, which includes a broad spectrum of political views, then Benjamin Netanyahu will be back in power. So I don't think he will follow his rhetoric of extremely anti-Palestine. Instead, I think he'll lighten up a little bit to keep his hold on power.
Yeah, I think we can now talk about the Coca-Cola shares, basically the euro in general. Um, since the start of the Euros, there was a press conference, like an interview for Ronaldo right after the match against Hungary, and where before the interview started, he shifted the two Coca-Cola bottles, and that clip has gone pretty viral. And because of that, since then, I think it's been like 2 3 days now. Coca-Cola is losing billions worth of shares. So I think that's something that's really crazy to think about. How just removing two bottles of screen and Cristiano Ronaldo promoting water instead of Coca-Cola has lost them so much money and share value.
I think the biggest news from Euro so far was the collapse of Christian Eriksen, the Denmark player.
Yeah,
He went under cardiac arrest and had to undergo CPR. The doctor even said he was dead. Like so, prayers up to his family and the entire Denmark team. They lost to Belgium today, and it's obviously very tough to overcome such emotional thing. Christian Eriksen was the captain. I think he was one of their best players, and losing him that way is very tough to overcome.
yeah,
Yeah, the
and
Euros
yeah,
are in full go. We can see that there are audiences all over the place. I mean, no one's really wearing masks, and matches are taking place full flow. So that's always good to see. And speaking about the Coca-Cola shares falling, I believe there's like two sides to the story. One side that Cristiano Ronaldo was just doing it like to promote the drinking of water and healthy drinks. The other side is that he got removed as the ambassador of Coca-Cola, and that's why he did it. There's a lot of like rumors about all that, which he did. He used to be an ambassador for like Coca-Cola, but he got
Right.
removed quite recently. But again, we don't know. But it's always good to see like a junk food organization's shares fall, I guess. So I guess that concludes today's podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We had a lot of topics to discuss. We hope your week or the 2 weeks that we were not here have been recapped properly. And we hope to see you next week because we will be getting more and more regular with these podcasts. Thank you for tuning in. Share, subscribe, donate to Spark a Change, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.